This right hand by Kevin Moley shook up Benitez in the last round, sent him backwards, and we're in the live action in the 5th.
It has been a fascinating fight as the tempo has swayed back and forth. And here's Benitez now with a left hand that connects on Moley. Benitez had controlled most of the 4th round until the final minute when Moley exploded and had Benitez shaken.
I think 2 punches by Benitez are important for him. The jab, which he's landing often, and the lead right hand. When he's on the outside, those punches work well. Big uppercut by Moley.
Moley has not been landing consistently, but when he does, he certainly gets Benitez's attention.
Come on, push out, let's go, push out.
It's a good overhand right hand by Kevin Moley.
You know, as this fight wears on, we have to ask ourselves, Benitez himself admits he has not always been the most dedicated trainer for fights. How well did he train for this one? After all those wars in the last 10 years, can he get himself in tip-top shape? And Moley, a very young 22 who really hasn't been through much, so we'll see if the later rounds benefit Moley.
And how much does Wilfredo Benitez really want to be back? Or how much does he have to be back financially?
Well, that's the word, of course, that he's here because he needs money badly. He has had tax problems, bad financial investments.
Oh, and there's a solid right hand by Benitez.
But he shows us he still has a good right.
Yes. Halfway through round 5. Fairly well an even fight throughout.
The lead right hand by Benitez, I'll tell you, that has been a very good weapon. And I think he's almost been a little economical in using it, especially over the jab of Moley, which by and large has been a little bit of a lazy jab.
Moley showing no signs of intimidation whatsoever against the far more experienced Wilfredo Benitez. This is his first big fight for Kevin Moley.
Well, what could better have happened for him than knocking Benitez down in the 1st round to give himself some confidence? But I give him credit because Benitez turned things around in the 2nd and 3rd, and I think it was some good mental toughness by Moley that allowed him to get back in.
A glancing right hand by Benitez doing no damage.
Well, it's an excellent round and a close one. A lot of swelling around the right eye and the bad cut, but they've done a great job in the corner of controlling that cut.
That cut was open in the 2nd round. And that corner goes to work immediately after the bell. It doesn't stop until the next bell sounds. Less than 10 seconds now to go in round 5. And that is the end of the 5th round. We are halfway through at Madison Square Garden in a fight that is pretty well even.
Teddy, give him the water. Don't worry about it.
Kevin Moley's corner working overtime on that right eye, Al.
Now listen, the only thing you're doing wrong, the only time he hits you is when you wait in front too long and he hits you with the right hand. Only because you waited too long. Give me the water, Jim. When you don't wait in front, you do fine. Now, when you're in front, give a jab. Then you hit him a good hook. All right. Use the jab. You understand?
Well, you heard them talking about the only time he hits you is when you stand still and he throws that right hand. Hey, here's an example of that. An overhand right by Benitez, much like the one that knocked Maurice Hope out. And Benitez is such a smart fighter. As we look at again, he knows he can't land a straight right, Charlie, so he throws it an overhand right, and it got there.
Wilfredo Benitez as we embark on round 6 of the scheduled 10-rounder. And once again, Benitez scores with a right.
You know, Wilfredo Benitez has been accused of being in boring fights because of his style. It's the stand back and counterpunch. But 2 things have contributed to this being an exciting fight. One, nowadays he gets hit more than he used to, and so there's more action from his opponent. And secondly, he is landing very effectively against Kevin Moley. So this has been a much more exciting fight than many Benitez has been involved in.
A lot of folks thought that Wilfredo Benitez was through 2 years ago at the age of 24.
Which is astonishing when you think about it. And when he lost to Mustafa Hamsher in 83 and then against Davey Moore in Monte Carlo in 84, he was pretty much written off, and many people felt he'd retired. But again, the financial problems brought him back to the ring.
How much pressure do you suppose is on a kid who wins his first title at the age of 17? How easy has it been to burn out just 4 or 5 years later?
Well, it's been tough on Benitez for a lot of reasons, as he uses a very good left jab. Number one, there was pressure, I think, to fight as well as he did at 17. How can you sustain excellence throughout a 10-year career when you started out so well? And I think he's had lots of personal problems as well and has not always stayed mentally into boxing.
His desire to train has been questioned on many occasions.
Right now, though, in this 6th round, he is showing us the hand speed, the good combination punching, and the counter punching that are his trademarks.
But Moley counters with a right. I want to remind all of our stations at the end of this round, we'll be taking a 1-minute local commercial break. We have 1 minute to go in round 6, and the question has to be asked, Al, as this fight wears on, to whose benefit is that? Benitez, the older man at 26, but more experienced, or Kevin Moley, who perhaps has not gone the distance?
Well, as I mentioned, you question the training of Benitez, but the fact that Moley's only been 10 rounds once before might make that a pick-em situation, although I think it might favor Moley unless he keeps taking punishment like this.
And he takes a straight left hand. As Benitez doubles up and is successful.
Boy,
Benitez appears to be growing stronger as the fight goes on.
He really is, and I think that would surprise a lot of people at ringside. Moley switches to southpaw. Boy, that was a strange maneuver.
And we'll be coming right back with more boxing from Madison Square Garden right after this word from our local stations.
Used this left jab very effectively. He doubled up often on it, and as we go into round 7, Kevin Moley's got some problems, Charlie.
That's Al Bernstein. I'm Charlie Steiner, and we are in round 7 from Madison Square Garden. The main event still upcoming, Billy Costello and Lightning Lonnie Smith. And this has been a thoroughly entertaining prelim. The unbeaten Kevin Moley against the experienced Wilfredo Benitez.
Benitez with a left hook to the body and a straight right to the head. Nice combination by him. And now against those ropes, he is showing why he is such a good counterpuncher.
Regardless of the outcome, Kevin Moley is receiving a boxing lesson tonight from an experienced veteran, Wilfredo Benitez.
Right now he is. I have Benitez ahead 4 rounds to 2. Or 5 rounds to 2. It's 4 rounds to 2. That's right. That adds up to 6, doesn't it?
And we are in the 7th. Good, Al.
Yes. Where's my pocket calculator?
You've got 5 fingers on your right hand, 5 more where they came from on the left
What
side.
am I going to do if this is more than a 10-rounder? I'd be in trouble.
Fancy footwork from the experienced Wilfredo Benitez.
Moley going downstairs. He hasn't had much of a body attack so far in this fight. Been a headhunter.
In the 2nd round, Benitez opened a cut over the right eye of Kevin Moley. And the corner has done a splendid job in keeping the blood from trickling down his face. There is some signs of swelling, of course, but it's not really had much of an impact on this fight.
There's really swelling under both eyes. Moley, look at the right hand whistle over the head of Benitez, and he doubles up with the jab. Wow, is that pretty.
And once again, we want to remind all of our local stations that at the end of the round, we'll be taking a 1-minute local commercial break. Less than a minute to go in round number 7. Benitez now beginning to control the tempo of the fight.
Moley is walking into a lot of those counter shots. Of course, Moley has to attack, feeling he might well be behind. But against Benitez, when he gets you in that posture, it's very, very difficult.
Under a half a minute to go now in round 7. Just 20 seconds into the first round, Wilfredo Benitez is knocked down. Didn't think he was, but Joe Cortez, in fact, said he was. But he has responded nicely. It's had no discernible impact on Benitez at all. As we come to the end of round 7, we'll be right back with more boxing from Madison Square Garden right after this word from our local station.
Jab so effectively in the last round, and a graphic example of that there.
And back to live action from Madison Square Garden. I'm Charlie Steiner along with Al Bernstein. This is our first fight of the night. Wilfredo Benitez and Kevin Moley. Moley, the local kid from Long Island.
Well, Benitez doesn't have all fond memories of this arena. In November of '77 and then in February of '78, he fought two very tough fights against the then young and good junior welterweight Bruce Curry. Curry had him down a couple of times in one of those fights, and he won a very controversial decision. Tonight, Wilfred is atoning for that and then some.
Benitez fought a very smart fight. He's been stung a couple of times and knocked down 20 seconds into the first round. But from about midway through the second round on, Benitez has controlled the tempo, and he has fought quite a bit out of his corner and countered extremely well.
Now, Moley lands a right. Benitez says, come on, I want some more. He's just waiting to counter off those ropes, and now Benitez is smiling.
Watch your hand inside. Watch your hand inside. Come on.
Again, the jab of Benitez. That's been so effective for him. He's kind of abandoned the lead right, but the reason is that jab is setting up the right now. He's using the jab and coming with the right after it.
And once again, Benitez parks himself in his own corner. He has fought most of the fight out of one corner or the other.
As we're into this 8th round, Wilfred still looks very sharp.
And there was some question about his training for this fight in particular. We had heard word that he'd been knocked down a couple of times by his sparring partners, and then 20 seconds into the first round when he was in fact knocked down, we thought this could be a quick night's work for Kevin Moley. It has not been the case.
When Benitez counterpunches like this, he's one of the toughest men in boxing to deal with.
This is the first big-name fighter that Kevin Moley has encountered. Although Moley is unbeaten, 22-0 with 19 knockouts.
Well, Kevin Moley, frankly, came in here with not the greatest list of opponents, and he's finding out that when you step up in class against a Benitez, you can have some problems.
And the right eye is looking awfully nasty on Kevin Moley's face. That's the end of round 8. And let's go to Kevin Moley's corner now. And they are going to work on that right eye some more.
Now listen, you got 2 rounds.
They have done an excellent job, Al, in keeping that eye from being a significant factor in this fight.
You hear? Use your jab to hurt front. Don't wait. As soon as you're front, take some water. Yeah, get that jab going. Use your jab.
Hey, Wilfred, jab this cool today. Jab this.
Okay, cool.
And now Wilfred Benitez looking much fresher of the two. And now the Vaseline over the cut of the eye of Kevin Moley.
And as you mentioned, they've done a superb job on it, but boy, a bad swelling there.
And keep your left hand up inside because it's touching the right hand. All right? Tuck that walk from and keep punching all the way. So come on,
We will see a left hand by Benitez right to that eye. Left hook. Oh, Wilfred hasn't landed that punch that often in this fight, but that one was very effective.
It certainly got Mr. Moley's attention as we begin round 9 of 10 from Madison Square Garden. Still to come, Billy Costello and Lonnie Smith for the WBC Super Lightweight Championship. That bout is next. Half a minute into round 9.
The problem for Moley is that the straight right, the punch he used to put Benitez down in that first round, now isn't landing. The jab isn't landing. The hook isn't landing. I think if there's a punch that's going to get in there against Benitez, it might be the right uppercut, which he landed effectively early in the fight. And if I was him, I would concentrate a body attack and try and get that uppercut in when Benitez bends down like that. When Benitez is down like that, the uppercut is about the only thing Moley's going to land effectively.
Benitez has been feinting so well throughout the fight.
And you can see that by and large, he slips under that straight right, Charlie. It just is not going to get there often against Benitez.
Benitez' face virtually unblemished. Not so Kevin Moley. Both eyes swollen. The right eye has been cut since the second round.
And I think even if you give Moley credit for his aggressiveness when he has Benitez on the ropes, you have to feel that Benitez has done the better job counterpunching off those ropes and landed the cleaner shots.
It seemed as if Benitez got warmed up about midway through the second round, and since that time, he has controlled the tempo of this fight.
And in the third was when he started counterpunching well, when he backed up against those ropes and really started counterpunching, and that's when, since then, Moley's had problems.
And we want to remind our local stations that at the end of the round, we'll be taking a 1-minute local commercial break. And we have 1 minute left in the 9th round.
This has actually been a better round for Moley. He might be slightly ahead in this round, but whether that's enough to get him the fight, even to win these last two, we'll see. Benitez still counterpunching fairly well, though.
On my card, I've got Benitez winning 5 of the last 6 rounds. In fact, 6 of the last 7.
Well, I've got him ahead 5-2 and 1 even, so I agree with you that he is ahead in this fight by a pretty good margin. And there's the jab, so effective in the last 4 or 5 rounds, and the lead right.
So based on our scorecards at any rate, Kevin Moley needs a knockout to win it.
And now Benitez backing Kevin Moley up, and I think if he could do that, Wilfred would really be effective. And you see Moley slowing down discernibly here toward the end of the round.
He's breathing from his mouth, the telltale sign in boxing that he is tired. And we'll be right back with more boxing from Madison Square Garden right after this word from our local station. This is the 10th and final round. From Madison Square Garden, Wilfredo Benitez. On the comeback trail, apparently successful based on our scorecards at any rate. Kevin Moley apparently will taste defeat for the first time, barring a knockout.
That would be our view of the fight. Now, the judges may be looking at it differently, but certainly it appears that Benitez has counterpunched so well. He used the jab, the straight right hand, and there's the combination punches.
Well, then the question becomes, Al, if in fact the outcome of the fight is as we expect, what does this mean for Wilfredo Benitez in terms of his comeback, and where does that take him?
Well, it's a very solid effort. I'm not sure what it says to boxing observers because Kevin Moley was untested. So Benitez would certainly still need a win against a more solid contender before anybody would be willing to admit he's in title contention. But this was an important first step if he continues on here and wins this fight.
The storyline we established from the outset was what did Kevin Moley have and what did Wilfredo Benitez have left? Moley has plenty of heart, some skill. Benitez still has some left.
And I think this was just too tough a step for Moley. He's doing what some people think Lonnie Smith will be doing in our main event, our championship fight, stepping way up from fighting journeyman fighters. And I think that has been his biggest problem. When people look at Benitez, they will know at least that he has shown some of the same skills he showed when he was in his prime, and for him, that's got to be heartening. Boy, Moley now, he just knows he can't hit Benitez on those ropes. He's still trying, but it's been so difficult.
That must be enormously frustrating for a young fighter like this who has knocked out 19 of his 22 opponents. And on his way to landing punches, and suddenly Benitez isn't there anymore.
Well, it's been a story of lots of fighters. Duran had that problem. Carlos Palomino had that problem when he lost the title to Benitez. So I guess if there's any solace to Moley, he's not alone in that fight.
He's in pretty good company. 45 seconds left in the fight.
Kevin Moley should take from this fight, though, some valuable lessons.
There was one knockdown. It came just 20 seconds into the first round. And Moley decked Benitez, although Benitez protested the decision of Joe Cortez, but Cortez's rule that, in fact, it had been a knockdown prevailed, and that was the only knockdown in the fight.
And it's a good thing in this fight to refrain from snap judgments, because that could have led you to believe that Benitez was, in fact, through, but boy, he's come back well.
And so now we'll wrap it up, the final 10 seconds of this fight. Wilfredo Benitez and Kevin Moley. And it's over.
See,
Well, both corners, as usual, are happy about the outcome. But Emil Griffith, the old middleweight champion, with that chrome dome, lifting his fighter